Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Phil's Corner Live. Welcome to the Hot Wall. Just moments ago, the headline, or the biggest surprise, I guess Conor Gallagher being in there was pretty big. Tomori missing out. Yeah, we can talk about that if you want, but obviously we're here to talk about shirts. Great to have you here, George. Good day to you as well, sir. And Camilla, or Camilla, I'm not sure how you say your name, but welcome. Hello, indeed. Welcome, everybody. As I say, we'll be here for the next couple of hours, ranking some shirts. We've got a bit to catch up on, having not done the stream last week as well. So even though there's not many shirts, new shirts being released at the moment, there's still a few. There's still a few new ones from time to time, so we'll get to them. As we begin, I will do the usual bits of housekeeping. I will mention firstly that I have a Patreon. And this has been going for a couple of years now. You can see there's a few guys up there, Lucas, Adrian, Steve and Andy, who have been supporting more than 2 years. and indeed loads for more than a year. I just want to say thank you to all my current patrons. Your support really does mean a lot. It means I can do what I do. Yeah, but guys, if you want to join this group, there's benefits, various benefits, which you can see at the link in my description. So do head over to there if you are interested in supporting me further. But just by watching this video, and also just leaving a like and subscribing, you are supporting Phil's Corner. So thank you to everyone who regularly watches the videos and streams. Or if you're new here, welcome. Hope you enjoy this next couple of hours. As we begin, I will just bring up the wall. The file is so large now that it takes absolutely ages to load, which is part of the reason we're a bit late today. Oh dear. But I will just find it for us here, and again, as we begin, there we go. You can see here, this is the hot wall. This is our tier list. The biggest thing really to say about this is that it is just absolutely messy. It is saturated, bursting at the seams, but it's been a lot of fun. We will spend some time, I think maybe in December, doing more kind of looks at some of the trends we've seen this year, some of the things that I've enjoyed in the industry. Because, you know, one of the most fun things about this for me has been being able to look back and see, oh yeah, that shirt, I remember that shirt now, which came out in January or what have you. There's a few shirts like that here, as well as some recent shirts. Of course, many of the World Cup shirts are on this list as well. And yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about those in the coming weeks. But this is the hot wall. It's still loading, which I apologise for. We should be there soon. But yeah, this is our tier list. This is my favourite shirts on the right in the volcano tier, and my least favourite shirts in the ice cube tier. The hottest shirts on the right, the coolest in the negative sense on the left. George says, did you hear about Mexico not being allowed to wear the away kit until at least the knockout stage? Yeah, I saw. I was that because of just the color combinations. I didn't see the details there. But yeah, that's a shame. I mean, many good shirts have just not been worn at a tournament. That is kind of sadly the way things often land. But yeah, that one seems to be, I think, potentially vying with the Japan away for most popular shirt of the tournament. Both those shirts are in the volcano tier here. I do love them both. And the Japan home is great as well. They're my kind of, probably my top three, but there are some great shirts which may rise up in my estimations as we see them on pitch. JPS says, hi Phil, hi to you mate. How did you get with the Red Star bit? Yeah, I messed up a bit in that I forgot the time of the auction. I got it wrong, so when I went to check it, someone had just outbid me. The way it goes, I certainly would have liked to have bid a bit more, and I, again, just a bit of an admin error there. So that was, yeah, that was a bit of a slip up. It went for 31 quid, I think, which again, I wouldn't, yeah. So, bit of an eBay fail there. But, you know, we'll keep an eye out for more Red Star shirts as we go along. And certainly, it's the kind of thing where I would expect, yeah, expect a few more Red Star shirts to pop up on eBay, or at least hope that we will see a few more. Right, we're nearly there. We are nearly there. I can see, again, this is just my Photoshop struggling somewhat with the size of the document, but we are close. So let me just tidy up our folders here. And one of the other things I will do as well is, well, we need to check where we finished the last. This is something which I always forget to do, guys, every time. But we will check and see. There we go. What was the last shirt we ranked? We should be able to figure out pretty easily. There are so many layers. There's over 1,000 layers. And for some reason, all of the folders have opened up at once. I must have pressed a shortcut by accident. Such is, sorry, such is the joy of the Photoshop. Right, look at this. We have the I can't remember the team name here, but this shirt here. What we will do as well is we will go to Football Shirt Culture. Great site which I use to keep up to date with new releases. So shout out to them. They do a really good job. Personally, it's my go-to site. They do miss some shirts, and there's a few which we need to go back and add. But yeah, looking at this, I think we got as far as so here we go. See a Tigre. So we've not actually got many shirts to rank, guys. So we probably will be done within an hour. But we can chat as well. Hope you're doing well today. One of the things actually, again, if you are new, please chuck in any comments in the chat. I'm very happy to discuss stuff, whether it's shirt related or not. But yeah, this is just a time just for us to chill out, hang out. Maybe you're at work and you've got this on in the background, or maybe you're watching this at a later date. But thank you for tuning in nonetheless. Right, so we're not including pre-match shirts as a rule here on the whole wall, simply because, well, to help keep it from being completely over the top. It's already too full. We're also not including goalkeeper shirts. So there's two things we're not including. But we come to Sydney FC. Now, there's a couple of good looking shirts on this list. Let's come to Sydney. I tweeted about this the other day. I really like the look of this shirt. It's got a nice combination of a black base. Black's very popular, but the sunset coloured details are a really nice touch. It almost has a kind of iridescent feel to it, but it looks really strong for me. It would have been, sorry, my nose is very blocked again today. It would have been very easy to just go with the blackout kit, as most people do, but to see not only the choice of sunset, but to see that replicated and used across all areas of the applications, apart from the sponsor. But I love this pattern, that detail. Really good to see again the crest, and this league post looks really cool as well. Although I noticed on the render here, I don't know if that's a render or a real shot, but that's obviously different. But anyway, all in all, really like this. The only comment would probably be, as we look at some of the close-ups, the quality of the shirt looks pretty basic, but design-wise, love it from Under Armour, and yeah, quite simply, I'd like to see more Under Armour. I think, again, from a design perspective, I think this is really good. I think this is a very high flames tier. Like knocking on the door of the volcano tier. Certainly the colours are quite volcano colours, aren't they? But I really like this. Really like this from Sydney FC, and I think, as I say, Under Armour, a bit like Mizuno, one of those brands who used to be around a bit more, and I would honestly like to see them have a bit of a resurgence. I don't know if they've got any clubs in Europe at the moment, but like if it was up to me, I'd take away a few of Castore's teams. They've got enough already. Give them to Under Armour. But this is great. I mean, honestly, I'd happily sit this one at the kind of upper end. There's a nice gap there. Let's fill that. Really good stuff from Under Armour and Sydney FC. And now let's come to Go Ahead Eagles. Now, I have a real soft spot for Go Ahead Eagles, guys. When I used to play Football Manager a lot, they were my go-to team, and I used to love, just obviously the team name is great, but yeah, they've had some great kits too. They had a great spell with Hummel. They're now with manufacturer Stanno, who I believe are Dutch, or at least I think they do a few Dutch teams. And this shirt is really interesting. The colour scheme here is quite fresh, quite surprising. When I look at this, I can't recall many of any shirts using this particular combo. You've got the black and the kind of slightly teal colour, blue colour, with this kind of light yellow, almost beige. I think it is a yellow, or like a very, very soft gold. Honestly, I think I really like this. I mean, I like this so much that I think we're looking at a volcano t-shirt here. As I say, the colorway feels really, really fresh. Like, it's rare. You see so many shirts, and we've seen so many shirts on the hot wall. look at this. Like, if I just, again, it's hard to really appreciate it, but given all these shirts, some colorways you just see, you know, too many times. Black and gold would be one actually, or certainly blackout shirts. They lose, you know, they can be quite nice. There's some that are in the higher tiers, but they do lose a bit of impact. This colorway, it's unusual, it's surprising. I really like it, and I like the look of this shirt. Whether it's the pattern on the back, the way the sponsors are integrated, the quality looks good. You know, nothing incredible, but honestly, the collar and cuff style is a classic. This looks to be an alternate version of the Go Ahead Eagles crest, unless they've rebranded, but I think it's just an alternate version. This has all the makings of a volcano t-shirt. And I'm a bit biased because I do like Go Ahead Eagles. They've just got a great name. But honestly, guys, I'm really high on this one, and I just realised I need to get them in a folder. There we go. Yeah, I'm really high on this one. So much so that, again, I think we're looking at a volcano t-shirt. For me personally, this is one of my favourite shirts of the year. Very much a kind of sleeper kit. I've just noticed, is that collar always like that, or is that just the way that the guy is sitting there? I think he's just it's folded in on the neck there accidentally. I was going to say that would be a really odd asymmetric collar. Yeah, this is great. I love this. Really surprising. Again, to see the color choices, but I dig it. And the pattern, even though it's a bit, I don't understand the story behind it. It kind of bit of a tie-dye vibe, but I think it's a bit dizzying to look at, but it has a kind of, I don't know, a kind of movement, a kind of dynamism to it. I dig it. Quite simply, I would rank this one in the top tier. Not challenging the very top of the volcano tier, but very much, I would say, you know, I'm comfortable putting it, I mean, to be honest, I'd put it ahead of England's women's kit there. Yeah. So yeah, something around the Athletic Club away feels good. I'll stick it there, but no, good stuff from Stanno, and it's great to see a smaller brand. Yeah, I think this is sneakily very good. It's one I'd like to get my hands on. Any shirt in this top tier is a shirt which I've either got already or I want to get hold of. And just looking at it here, I've ticked off at least half a dozen this year, so it's been a good year for the collection. Ian says, with that black Sydney kit, if the sponsor was the same colour as the badge and logo, it would be volcano. I think so. I think so. That would tip it over the edge. It's very good, but that would be really, really nice. Right, we come to the berry. I assume they're going to wear this. Again, if this is a leisure wear shirt, we won't include it, but I think it is to be worn. Hope and Glory, a manufacturer who do a lot of good stuff, particularly, I think, if not mostly, all in the UK. Non-league, but they do really good work in terms of bespoke kits for lower league teams. Yeah, I really kind of really engage with the community. I must say though, even though this has some really nice features, it has a kind of interesting combination of a kind of England 80s Admiral kit style detailing, with the kind of wallpapery pattern. It's a very nice kind of take, but I actually don't think that Admiral style, that England style portion adds too much, or rather I think it kind of takes away. It feels, to me, I don't think it particularly matches with the style of the body of the shirt. I'd probably rather see that just continued, maybe with some other touches. So I like it, but I think it's just trying a bit too hard. And the thing is, it's good to see a blackout shirt. It isn't just a black shirt. They've added some touches which are nice, but a little bit much for me, which would keep it from the higher tiers. I mean, it would be hard for a blackout shirt to be in the higher tiers, given how many we've seen. So the novelty has worn off. It wore off last year. And I think, you know, again, when we look back in history, there are some blackout shirts which I think really did stand out, but many of them have just kind of felt too late to the party. So this one, it's probably kind of mid candle tier, I should say. That's our third tier. Again, a nice attempt to kind of liven it up, but honestly, I think the overall effect. I mean, I'd actually put it down here, which isn't, we've got worse shirts, but it's I would say it's below average personally. The blackout continues, indeed, George. It does. And Ian said, Hobogoy are brilliant. I have a Caversham shirt, which I think is the best sun shirt of the year. Yeah, Hobogoy are great. And that Caversham shirt is really good as well. I have a lot of time for them. And again, they're very involved in the community, which is good to see. Some more really good shirts coming up. This is looking like a good day, guys. So, Party Thistle. Shirt with O'Neill's. O'Neill's who have... I'm not sure about the spacing on that name. But anyway, that's a side point. The kerning, rather. But, yeah, this is a kind of... a classic-looking shirt. Sponsor, not great. I've seen worse integrations, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm not overly enamoured with this style of collar, but it does have an unmistakably classic look. The collar's like a bit big for me, but again, many shirts were like that back in the day. So, good decisions to see. The pinstripes on the back, and honestly, I think this is a pretty smart shirt. It's a third shirt. And yeah, it's a very it's one direction you could go down with a third shirt. You might like to go down a more kind of traditional classic route as opposed to kind of what many people think third shirts would be typically used for, a crazy pattern. Honestly, this is good. It's quite safe, but it is nice. And even though it's not to my personal taste, I think this has to be in the conversation for the higher end of the candle tier. I think, again, because I'm not personally loving the style, I don't think I'd consider it for anything higher, but I could definitely see this being a bit of a good one for the fans. I think with a better sponsor, perhaps even it would be in the hot tier, in the Flames tier, but we'll still get the higher end of the candle tier. It's good stuff from O'Neill's, and again, I think things like pinstripes on the back, it makes a difference, and I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like more manufacturers are getting it at the moment. Again, it might just be because I've seen so many shirts, but yeah, there's been some really good ones. I think that is actually sneakily quite good. Marcus says, "Hi Phil, do you see it as just another blackout shirt, or do you think that it carries an extra message, given Barry's recent orders appearing?" Very interesting, Marcos. I hadn't consideed that. I'll be completely honest. I'm interested to see if anything came out in the press release or the main info here. There's nothing in here. Obviously, this isn't the full press release. Sometimes stuff gets missed off on Football Shirt Culture's site. Interesting, Marcos. I think had that been the story, it's not enough just to quote unquote save the shirt for me. I think I'd still want to see another take because we've seen so many shirts. But at the end of the day, if that was the story, no matter how authentic, that's definitely a good angle to go down. Like, that would make a lot of sense. Yeah, that's a really good point, though, mate. I hadn't considered that. VfL Bochum. Now, these guys were famous for having rainbow shirts. The guys had the rainbow shirts of the 90s. You remember those. So it's a really fun take for this modern shirt to kind of nod to that, but in a much more kind of sleek style. Now, personally, I kind of would like a bit more rainbow, but at the same time, there's also the danger of just being the same, trying to go down the same road they've already travelled down. So, honestly, a really nice style. Similar story to the Sydney shirt, and again, they could have just done a blackout shirt. Indeed, there are kind of blackout details like the Bundesliga patch, but the applications being in the rainbow style, I think is a good decision. So I don't. Looking at this style of shirt, one of the strengths of Mizuno is the fact that I believe these lines are embossed, so that's a real highlight. I don't love those lines on the sleeves, but that's nothing it doesn't take too much away from the shirt. It's really good. I think, again, it feels possibly better than the Sydney shirt. Not much better. I don't know if I could put it in the volcano tier, but it might be. I mean, let's have a look. So in the volcano tier, we have, yeah. I mean, to be honest, it does compare well to that. I think, knowing that this is embossed, that this portion of the shirt is embossed, that's a good detail on the back. I think it's going to sneak into the volcano tier. I think it has to. I think there's enough here. I think this one does stand above the Sydney shirt, which again, we talked about, and like we were saying before, that Sydney shirt you would have loved to have seen the main sponsor matched to the rest of the shirt. This one, of course, has that. Yeah, I'm going to do it, and I think this is again, one of a couple of teams that are working Mizuno, the likes of Lazio as well. An excellent story this year. One of my favourite stories of the year, seeing Mizuno kind of coming back. And I think that has been one of the highlights to see. They've been around in other continents, but I think seeing them in Europe has been great. Yeah, so really, really good stuff. And I would say, more like, please can we have more Mizuno next year? I think one of the things which a brand like Mizuno has done really well is they've not just gobbled up loads of teams. That shouldn't be wonky like that. They're not just gobbled up loads of teams a la Castor. It's hard not to talk about Castor. Unfortunately, I don't want to just dunk on them every stream, but yeah, I think this approach, it feels like a quality over quantity approach, and I hope that other clubs see the attention that Mizuno have given to Bochum and Lazio, and I would like to see more of them. So this shirt, yeah, let's stick it in the volcano tier. I think it's a really strong design. Again, it's not just the colours here, but it's the actual construction of the shirt looks good. And nice details, nice patches there. Yeah, really, really strong. Really, really strong. A good day so far. What's that? The second shirt in the volcano tier. We've had Go Ahead Eagles, and indeed Sydney were knocking on the door as well. So really, really strong. Strong slated kits, and honestly, I really like the look of this Toulouse shirt. I've not even seen this shirt before. But it looks really, really good. This is a third shirt. Appears to have been, well, just reading the press release for the first time, or the details rather. It's designed by a rap duo from Toulouse. Suggestion that there would be a different sponsor. I think you can see it here, which does look good. Honestly, the shirt looks really good. I mean, I'd like to see a shot of the back. So, were that to be played, of course we wouldn't be as excited. But honestly, when I look at that, I think that is easily in the top 2 tiers again. I think we're looking at another very, very nice shirt. This kind of soft purple, lilac shade, whatever you want to call it, or violet, I think they've called it here. It looks nice, and I think, yeah, the geometric style works really well. I appreciate, again, it's not going to set the world alight. This collar style, and these cuffs, but we see so many shirts which just feel. I use the word faffy quite a lot. I don't know how else to say it, but a lot of shirts from the likes of Macron, they can be a little bit. The collars can be a bit too clunky. They kind of end up messing up the rest of the shirt. I think personally, I'd much rather we saw a style like this, which just doesn't get in the way of the shirt basically, and is a lot more wearable. And that's just a personal thing. But overall, really, really like this. I do like the look of that alternate sponsor, although we can't really see it properly. Can see a bit more here. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm having a good day, but this one I think I'm gonna sneak it in the volcano tier. Is this the best ever day? We've not had many days where we've had at least 3 shirts in the volcano tier in one stream, but I love it. I realise, and this is like Stanno. We've got a brand Craft here. I think it's so good to see these smaller brands. These guys like Stanno have been around. They're not completely new. I don't believe they're in-house or anything like that. But from design and a construction perspective, they look as good as anything else you'll see. Sometimes the smaller brands don't quite bring the level of material innovation, but that's to be that's to be expected. I think this is great. We'll sneak it in. There's a gap there, and it feels appropriate to put it there. Yeah, another great shirt today, and this is, as I say, one of the better days already. We've only just started. We've still got another page to go. Well, let's come to Roma. Tell you what, that's another thing I love about football shirts. It can be overwhelming sometimes. We see so many new kits, and you can get burnt out pretty quick. But we're in November, and we're still seeing shirts which are just top drawer. And if you like shirts, honestly, there's something for you every single month. Now, I want to check, are Roma wearing this? I believe they are going to wear them. So I think we're going to rank this. It looks like it's some friendlies, but that counts. If they're going to wear it on pitch, I think we'll allow it. It'd be good to talk about Roma, of course. This collaboration with the brand Aries. I believe Aries are based in London, but their founder was from Roma. I think that was the story there. At the very, regardless, it was really cool to see the Aries logo, which is essentially this kind of pillar. What do you call it? Not Colosseum. I can't think of the name for that kind of building, but anyway, like a pantheon, whatever it's called. It's kind of been mashed with the New Balance logo, but it looks great. It's nice. I said this on Twitter. It's nice to have a logo for a collaboration like this. It helps kind of centralize everything, bring stuff together, and that was great to see. And you can see the kind of Roman imagery, the very kind of kind of classical style or Roman era style imagery is a natural fit. Now, the design itself is obviously quite bold. I don't think I love this one compared to some of the other pieces of the collection, but clearly it's a fresh take on a Roman shirt given this style. It definitely feels fashion-led. It's a little bit more kind of free in terms of you've got this pattern and this kind of quite kind of messy style with I don't even know what you would call that, but it kind of almost looks like it's been burnt off the shirt, or kind of like it's a very kind of a loose shirt in the best possible sense. And that's what collaborations can bring. You can get these kind of examples of teams who they couldn't really release a shirt like this usually, or at least you'd have to go through so many more regulations. But for a one-off kit like this in a friendly, I like the direction that Roma and New Balance went, alongside Aries, of course. So I like it a lot. Again, I don't think it's my favourite piece of the collection, but I do think this is a good example of collaborations where you can see the character of each side of the collaboration. You've got obviously, like it does look like a Roma kit, but kind of on steroids, on fashion steroids. So I like it. I think despite the fact, I'm not going to be jumping up and down about it, but I do think this is, looking at this, I don't think this would be out of place in maybe the bottom end or the middle end of the Flames tier. It's really good, and clearly, as you see more and more fashion collaborations in football, I think it's important that we try and judge them individually, and not just say, it's another fashion collaboration. They're not all created equally. Some of them are better than others. And you know what? I see the Roma home shirt there. I do actually think I'd take this one over it. Not by much, but I don't think it's out of place just here. That honestly feels about right. And I think certainly, again, the wider collection was really fun to see. George says, hey Phil, have you seen the Calathea kits from Kappa? They give me Venezia vibes. Yeah, exactly that. And the reason, George, is quite intentional. The same agency, the same brand, I can't think of their name, but the same guys who worked on the Venezia kits are doing those Calathea shirts. So yeah, all the imagery and the styling was all the same, but the same people basically. And yeah, the shirts are really good. Marcus says the different colours on the sleeves really throws me off, even if it was intentional. I believe it would just be better to keep the same shadow on maroon or black. Yeah, that kind of asymmetric look is a bit unusual, but I do quite like it, or at least I think it is surprising. But to see that continued on the back like that, I think is important, or at least it helps a lot. I think it's supposed to be a bit disruptive, so I think it helps that like they've already gone down the more kind of. It sounds like such a generic marketing term, is it disruptive? But they've gone down that road. And they've kind of doubled down. I personally quite like that, but I hear you. It's definitely it definitely is a bit jarring. I think were this a more standard shirt, it'd be quite likely we would see the same sleeve colours. Guys, we've got one more page, then we're going to be wrapped up. So this is the pre-game jersey. So we won't run this one because it is a pre-game shirt. But looking at this, again, really interesting details. Now, the overall style of the shirt, I think I'm a bit low on this one. Many people mentioned or brought up the example of Nike, the first, was it the first or the second, whichever vape in it iteration we were on in 2018. Think of the France World Cup winning shirt, the home shirt, and many of the Nike shirts. Most of the Nike shirts had this kind of soundwave, vaporwave pattern on the sleeves. Kind of does look like an interpretation of that. I was really surprised when you see the back of the shirt and they've got this gradient. And again, this honestly, it's rough around the edges. It's pretty, it looks, dare I say it, a bit kind of tacky, but these kind of surprising moves are what you want to see. I'm like in a collaboration shirt, you want to see something that you don't usually see in a football shirt. I think this one, I prefer the previous one, but it's a great addition. It's a great addition to kind of, if it's a fashion-led piece, you've got license to do something a bit more, a bit more contemporary. I like it. It's again the imagery of the Roma wolf kind of gets lost in the gradient, and I'm not the biggest gradient fan. It's honestly a bit weird, and I appreciate that. We won't rank it. And let's look at the goalkeeper shirt again. We won't rank this as well. Thank you, Robert. That's who I was thinking of. So, Carthay and Venezia was designed by Bureau and Bosch. Yeah, thank you, Robert. That's the one, George. And again, like the full tie-dye effect, front and back. It's honestly, it is over the top. I love it. It's kind of silly, but I love how you've got this sleeve detail, which it kind of feels like it's almost completely lost. It's unnecessary, but it just adds another layer of kind of madness to the kit, basically. Ridiculous goalkeeper shirt, but very, very much, again, just one piece of this surprising puzzle. I don't know how else to put it other than it is surprising. It is, but I'd much rather clubs go down this direction than some of the collaborations you see, which feel very kind of half-baked. I mean, one example from recent weeks, guys, if you've seen the Real Madrid Marvel collection, the stuff there, it's a cheap brand tie-in. The stuff genuinely looks to me like it could have come from the likes of Primark. Just slapping on a cheap graphic basically onto a plain shirt and calling it a day. I'd much rather see this direction, even if it is a bit mad. But anyway, we won't rank it because it's a goalkeeper shirt, but it is pretty out there. Joe, good to see you, Joe. I'm well, thank you. I'm doing well. I hope you're well too. We're nearly caught up actually with today's rankings. We are on Torquay now. Now this is a hot pink, a very hot pink. Looking at the shirt, really like that you've got raised plastic details. A small thing, but it is a nice element to a shirt. Although the Puma cats are embroidered on the sleeves, but really like this, and it's interesting to see this style of to see the letters that actually make up this pattern. I quite like that. Often when you see word-based patterns, it's a funny thing to say, but like, you know, you see, I don't know, a shirt and it's got people's names in kind of lines. I'm not the biggest fan of that look, but I really like the way that this has been created. You know, when you zoom out, it just looks like a load of dots. But zooming in, you get the letters and the Torquay crest even. It almost looks like the Kappa logo there. When I first saw that, I genuinely thought that was the Kappa logo. But anyway, so this has some really nice touches. I mean, the shirt is largely just a hot pink shirt with black details, but the pattern I think is really nice. And the quality, and because Torquay, they have this kind of level where they get a little bit more than you'd expect from a club at their level in terms of quality of shirts. Yeah, no, this is great. Obviously, their kind of quote unquote sponsor, which is just their foundation here, looks really nice. So I think this one has to be in the hot tier. And actually, the more I look at it, I'm warming to it. I think. You know, there's lots of things which kind of tip this one into the higher end of this tier list. Yeah, and that shade, it's pretty bold. I mean, we've seen similar shirts. Was that Copenhagen, I believe? I like this one even more than that, though. And again, I rated that particular shirt quite highly. I don't think, I don't think we're actually looking at anything lower than here. Let's stick it just here in the flames tier. I think it's really good. Very simply, I just think it's neat. Universidad de Chile, their third shirt. So another third shirt. Looking at this design, this detail, although it's quite kind of basic in terms of the style, the little patch, that's quite nice. And I think, you know, probably the biggest thing for me is the colours look a little bit like they kind of, I'd probably rather have more contrast here. It could just be bad photography, but the overall effect, I feel like it's kind of lessened because that black and that dark blue, I don't think the combo is that nice, basically. At least with this stylish shirt. You know, and again, without knowing too much about the club colours, that shade of navy just looks a bit tired to me. So, honestly, I think this has the makings of a candle tier, even though we've not seen many shirts with this style this year in terms of diagonal stripes. It's not one of the kind of widely used Adidas patterns, and there are bespoke details, or at least there is with the shield at the bottom there, but I don't know, I'm honestly not that excited by this one. Obviously the best sponsor is a negative. You know, it's relatively simple there in white, but yeah, this is a kind of mid candle, maybe mid to high for me. I think that's where I'm ranking it as we see it for the first time here. That's my first impression. I mean, there's a nice gap there. Let's stick it there. That feels about right. Yeah, honestly, I think in another colourway, I'd like this more and more, but not too excited. I do like the giant letters, the crest. That's something which, of course, many clubs in South America have. That's always fun to see. Now we come to Cameroon. Incidentally, I don't know if it's gone out actually, but my weekly newsletter, my weekly editorial with Football Collective, which I do on their weekly newsletter. If you want to sign up to that, there's a link on my Twitter. Is all this week's editorial. It's all about Cameroon, and basically, I was looking at it a bit more and trying to answer the question: are they really as bad as people have been saying? Spoiler alert: I think they are. You know, I was looking at here, like that. Honestly, looks pretty cheap. This detail, see how the stitching goes over the style there, which itself is just sublimated. The shirts just look cheap. They do not look like what you'd expect a country like Cameroon to be wearing. You know, they've had some great shirts over the years from likes of Puma and the Le Coq Sportif shirts. It was a short period, but it did bring some interesting designs. I honestly think the whole thing looks pretty pretty basic. I mean, I maybe well, no, I don't know. Like, I was trying to find good things to say, and honestly, like, you know, it falls foul of so many things. Whether it's the relatively just the recolored, the kind of lazy-looking recolors, the fact that the red and green here just doesn't look good at all. It's a hard combo to pull off, and I don't think it works at all. Yellow would have been a much more stronger base color, which company would have had a lot more. The whole thing just to me looks pretty bad. Yeah, it looks cheap. Like, look at the kind of, I mean, the patch style here again is very kind of bottom tier. The collar looks very naff, and even worn it looked even worse. So yeah, George says Cameroon Federation is saving some bucks. That's 100% the vibe I was getting, and I don't think there's any redeeming qualities. The only thing is that someone mentioned they are selling basic tier shirts or fan tier shirts for something like $25, which is very cheap. I believe they're fully sublimated, but essentially the same design. That is great, and I think that's something which it's happened in the industry, but it's not widespread, and it's something which would make a lot of sense to try and curb kind of rising prices in the industry and that sort of thing. So I'll put the home there, but I think the red one certainly is going to be one of the worst shirts I think we've seen this year. I joked on Twitter that I would have given these a 1 out of 10, and I don't think my feelings have changed on the matter, seeing them a bit more, seeing some of those close-ups. Just very disappointing. I mean, again, I can't think of a worse shirt we'll see in Qatar, but that might just be me forgetting another one. I know Puma have come under a lot of stick for their shirts, but I do think these are bad. Yeah, honestly, yeah, I'm going to stick it here, right at the bottom of our list. So we've had two extremes today. We've had a few volcano tier offerings, but down in the ice cube tier. These shirts are anything but hot. The white one might be the best of the bunch, to be honest. I think I'd be happy to put that one, if not around the home shirt, a little bit higher than the home shirt, but still in the bottom tier. Like all three of them, I think. Personally, I think they are very, very average. Below average, I should say. Yeah, not a great year to be a Cameroon fan. And Cameroon have had a lot to cheer about on the kit front for many years, but yeah, we'll stick that there. To be honest, I will bump it up. I'll bump it up here. It's still very low, don't get me wrong. Very forgettable, and just honestly a very cheap looking set of kits. Yeah, you know, it's important. Obviously, many of the smaller brands in football, they offer you know, some good stuff with things like fully sublimated shirts, and that's fine. I don't think you can't expect or demand clubs and countries to have always completely top spec applications, but you know, you head into a World Cup, there should be opportunity to basically put your best foot forward, and this just looks like you are trying to cut costs. That's my take anyway. Hansa Rostock. Let's see if we can end on a slightly more positive note. Just about, maybe. We considering how high we've been for many of these shirts today, we are slightly ending on a bit of a downer, but that's okay. Hansa Rostock's special edition shirt. Now, I must admit, my first question is, what is special about this shirt? It looks like standard Nike teamwear, or something the standard striped effort. I guess the sponsor, yeah, seems to be a different sponsor. I do really like the Hansa Rostock crest, and the combination is a bit better than the Universidad de Chile shirt. Like that, this is the contrast I'm talking about. I think it does work better here, but I don't see anything that's special here. We need some more details. I mean, you could do some good stuff these days with Nike teamwear. This one, honestly, it's a bit of a joke to be called a special edition shirt. Not as bad as something like the Atletico 4th shirt, which we did rank, which was even worse, especially given the size of Atleti. But yeah, very underwhelming shirt. I mean, I quite like the shirt as a whole, even though it is so basic. And again, those colours or that shade of blue works a lot better with the black, in my opinion. But I don't know, it's low candle. Maybe that's even generous, but I'll stick it there. Yeah, minimal effort for a special edition shirt. You'd expect more. But it's a similar story for this Cruzeiro shirt. Supposedly a commemorative shirt. And we've got one of the base Adidas templates. The base Adidas patterns. It's this pattern we've seen for a couple of years now, at least on this Condivo construction. The shade of blue is quite nice. It's much deeper than Cruzeiro's typical shirts. I do actually quite like the shade there, but that detail, yeah, I'm not loving the script on it. I don't think that's really that nice. There's a nice level of quality to the applications. You know, you've got the kind of the nice plastic style. So this one is, you know, I think I actually would put it on the higher end of the ice cube tier. Of the candle tier, but it could be so much more. You know, if the pattern again, why not? You could take this kind of theme, this kind of, I don't even know what you call these, paint splodges, whatever they're called, but do something more interesting. Of course, that would require more effort, and yeah, that's clearly not what's on show here. But despite how sad the pattern is for a commemorative shirt, again, I do really like that shade of blue, and I do like the other details. We see the level of quality with the applications, but I'm clutching the straws really there. I'll stick it on the higher end of the colour tier. I say higher end. There's colour there actually, there instantly, as we were talking about earlier. Let's go there. If you know, again, I'd expect more from a commemorative shirt, a special edition shirt. Tony says, looks like you're going to need a bigger wall. I honestly should, mate. I honestly should. We've come so far that I don't want to increase the size of it. But probably about 6 months in, I should have realised I need to expand the list if I wanted to actually make it legible. There's some shirts here which are just completely buried. I've tried, you know, I try, and you'll notice, I try to place stuff in gaps and, you know, to kind of overlay them nicely, but yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, good reminder that, yeah, it definitely doesn't fit. Wisla, Krakow, however you best pronounce their name. Interesting shirt here. I think, you know, we talked a bit about the with the Mizuno shirts, the embossed pattern. Great to see that here. Look at that, guys. Not on the back, but on the front. The way that this, and it's funny, this kind of looks like a chevron pattern. Well, it is a chevron pattern. So very much a Hummel tribute. Also looks a bit like an Adidas shirt, doesn't it? Like the Holland 88 shirt even. So it's a very interesting design. Even though it does feel a bit derivative of other brands, it's great to see that achieved through the embossing. That's, you know, that level of detail, honestly, makes such a difference. It really separates an average shirt from a great shirt. And I think that alone makes you think we're looking at a bare minimum the lower end of the Flames tier. And it's a relatively plain shirt, but the sponsors, you know, it's a bit of a sponsor party. This, I think, will probably keep it on the lower end of the Flames tier, but I do think there's enough there with that pattern. Like these patterns, when you get these shirts and they've got an embossed pattern, it's really nice just to actually, like the tactile nature of these shirts, or these kind of shirts, is really strong. No, I really like it. I think again, we're looking at put in the middle of the Flames tier. Were the sponsorship situation a little bit more controlled, shall we say, I think we could be looking at something more, and you'd like to see a bit more on the back. But I think, yeah, I think this is, you know, Macron. I said about their collars also being faffy, but there's nothing wrong with this one here. Yeah, really good. I wouldn't take it over. So we've got the Udinese shirt there, which I'd liked a bit more. But no, this feels at home in the foam still. If we scroll down, let's just try to find a gap. There we go. It's not really a gap. We'll stick it there next to Coventry. Yeah, really good stuff. Duracell Wool material is the badge. It also looks raised. I believe you referred to the this shirt here, George. Honestly, I can't tell. I'm trying to zoom in, it's not there, mate. It's just there. Anyway, I mean, we don't get good like if we're just doing a harsh zoom, but looking at that, yeah, that held exactly 0%. Yeah. And Ian said it's a step up from Nottingham Forest. Yeah, I mean, if to compare to Nottingham Forest, it is good to see that step up in terms of the embossed nature. And indeed, they could lend Forest a sponsor. They certainly could. They've got enough to go around. Anthony, good to see Anthony, says, your opinion on Macron this season? I think I'm actually not as high on them as I have been in previous years. Macron bring a level of quality, and things I like about Macron, they treat their clubs with respect. They often almost always have bespoke details for their kits. I think they've done really good work. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's one of those where maybe because their portfolio is so big, just quite a few of their shirts feel a bit like they're trying too hard, basically. And I would often use the collar as an example, but that's not to take away from them. I think they're a very solid brand, and actually, when they get it right, they get it really right. And there are some examples even in the volcano here. Sorry guys. Bradford being one of my favourites there. We've also got Stoke. Like, I think a lot of their lower league shirts in England have been their best ones. Yeah, so there's some great examples, and I think in general, as I say, I think they're in a really good place, and I'm excited to see how the brand continues, because I think they're in quite a comfortable spot now. You know, they're very much one of the leaders in that kind of chasing pack behind the big three, behind Nike, Adidas, and Puma. Macron are most certainly, I think, in the top 10. How do they get into that kind of top 5 conversation? Which I don't, I mean, that's an interesting conversation, but I don't think I wouldn't personally put them in the top 5. But then again, I am quite biased towards the likes of Hummel, so I'm not the best person to ask there. Brock, no ways. Good to see them, unless. Yeah, that Toulouse shirt is one of my favourites, and indeed, we also had the Go Ahead Eagles shirt ranked very highly. And there was a third, wasn't there? The Bochum shirt. So triple threat in the volcano tier today. But equally, we saw Cameroon. All 3 of their shirts in the Ice Cube tier. So it's been an interesting day so far. But largely speaking, a very positive day. Let's continue, guys. We've got a few more shirts to come, or just 2 more to come. Firstly, the Wisla Krakow away kit. Now, in this example, the pattern isn't embossed, and you see here the level of difference. This is still, a very similar pattern, if not the same. No, sorry, it's not the same. It's more of a kind of, still geometric, but a different style to the chevron-based design. But this one, just not being embossed, it just goes down, like, dare I say it, even a tier, or at least close to a tier based on that alone. This style, honestly, I don't really think I like it that much. We've got the same issue with the sponsors, which is what it is. It feels like, am I right in saying the Panama flag? Is it the Panama flag, or am I thinking of another flag? Yeah, I think I am thinking of Panama. It feels like, I don't know, an international kit for someone like Panama, maybe Chile. I guess you got the French flag, but whatever it is, it feels like a kind of international kit. But I'm not too sure about it, honestly. It's a very interesting design. It's a quite distinctive, striking look. But I think it probably has enough to go just about in the counter tier. But I think, you know, it's a significant downgrade on the much plainer but much more successful for me home shirt. Who is in your top 5? Says Book. And you go with Adidas, Nike, Puma, Hummel, and who? Yeah, so those 4. I mean, it's funny because are we talking kind of personal taste or are we talking kind of size? Like, I think for me, I guess to try and combine both of that, so both kind of size and kind of rankings, I think I'd sneak Umbro in there, even though they don't have, you know, as big of a footprint as they used to. Kappa obviously are knocking at the door as well. But, you know, in terms of kind of risers, New Balance have been very good this year, and I'm happy to see them actually kind of pulling back a bit because they had lost some ground in recent years. Araya as well, certainly at least in Argentina, produced perhaps my favourite shirt of the year, the Belgrano shirt. So it's a competitive field. I mean, you know, you've got several brands I think you could justifiably put in a top 5, but I would, you know, I would definitely, personally, I'm partial to both Hummel and Umbro, but I mean, there's many, you know, there's dozens of manufacturers just on this list alone who we could go through, and interested to hear other people's top 5 manufacturers. Again, it's a question I get asked a lot actually, this year there's definitely been some movement in my kind of the mental list that I keep. This is the Krakow away. We'll stick it there. Yeah, a bit too much for me, but overall, certainly the home shirt I think is a surprising standout, or a kind of sneaky standout. And we finish with Dinamo Zagreb out of Croatia, their 3rd kit. This shirt is a very interesting shade of gold. I quite like the shade, a little bit more muted. And the choice of recolouring the crest and other areas of the shirt to all be black, I think is really good. The pattern, I believe, is a generic Adidas pattern, so that's obviously a bit of a knock. Interesting to see the pattern on the back with a kind of gradient to help make the names legible. Although actually it's the same on the front as well. So honestly, this detail on the back looks pretty strong, and I quite like the look of the crest in the gold and black. So this is good. I like this, despite, again, I'm pretty sure this is a generic Adidas pattern. But you know, the pattern itself is good. I like it going on the sleeves. It doesn't. I don't even know what you call it, like a tortoise shell, or maybe like kind of, you know, crazy paving. I don't know. I like it. I like the commitment to the 2-color look, just gold and black, and yeah, I think that shade looks really nice. I think that shady gold complements the black very well. So in terms of rankings, I'd be tempted to sneak it into the hot tier, honestly. Maybe not though. I think we'll keep it in the counter tier, but at the higher end of the counter tier, you know, there's a lot to like. Thank you, bro. Used for goalkeepers. Of course, it's one of the goalkeeper. One of the goalkeeper designs. I knew it was familiar. Video idea with your top 5. That's a great shout, Ian. And I do want to say, guys, I do still have some classic Phil's Corner videos to come. I know I've not been putting them out as much as I have before. I've simply been quite busy, but I am keen to get some stuff out there soon. But thank you anyway for your patience with things like my testimony video, I still need to do my what I'm buying video and a what you're buying video. So there's stuff which is in the pipeline. But thank you for your patience with that. They'll be coming up very soon. Picked to win the World Cup. Honestly, this is going to sound funny because their team isn't nearly as stacked as it has been in other tournaments. But I just have a feeling someone like Belgium might finally step up. And again, their squad lacks the kind of depth that it's had in previous years. The kind of golden generation is slowly being phased out. But I don't know. I think that's slightly lower pressure. I don't know. It's a bit of an off the wall choice. you'd probably have to favour someone like Argentina or Brazil. I think as a safer pick. But yeah, I don't know. I could just see there's not much basis for that other than when I saw the squad, I think these guys can still do a lot of damage. I'm not a betting man, but if I was to put a bet, I'd stick a fiver on Belgium. Probably wouldn't get amazing odds on that. But guys, that is the whole ball. So we're caught up, and just to talk through my thinking for the back end of the year. So I think going forward, we'll do these hot ball streams probably once every 2 weeks, which would give us only a few more, because obviously we'll have Christmas as well. So possibly 2 or 3, maybe 4 more streams, and we'll be done. So I think there's still things I want to do. I want to go back and add shirts which have been missed off. So I'm conscious of the Basel kits, which weren't ranked, and there was another one which I've forgotten off the top of my head. But there's a few gaps to fill in, which I think will be quite fun to go back on. We'll do another kind of review. We did this a couple of streams ago where we actually kind of moved some stuff up and down. There's a few shirts which, again, because there's so many kits on this list, I'd love to go back through and kind of, again, retrospectively move some stuff up or down. And yeah, I think one of the last streams, if not the last football stream, we'll do a bit more of an overview, talking about some of the trends we've seen, some of the things which I've liked, continuing the conversation that we had today about brands like New Balance doing a lot of good work, and things like that. So yeah, as we finish, I will just remind you to like the video if you enjoyed it today, and also to subscribe if you're new, if you haven't subscribed already. And any questions as we begin to close out, fire them in the chat. I'd love to answer them. Ian says, can a European team win a non-European World Cup? Yeah, that's a good point, Ian. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be interesting. Obviously, the timing of the World Cup just throws up so many questions in terms of, is that going to be positive or negative, particularly for European leagues who are kind of mid-season. Yeah, it's a very interesting. I mean, personally, I think, I don't know, it's hard. The conditions will be very different, but at the same time, yeah, obviously there's a sense of a level playing field. Not many teams, well, I mean Qatar themselves, but I can't think of many other nations who would be used to those types of conditions regularly. But I might be forgetting a few nations. I guess there are some nations that are, broadly speaking, geographically quite close. But anyway, I'm waffling. Yeah, going to be interesting to see for sure. Yeah, and I agree, and saying if the answer is no, it's very difficult to look beyond Brazil. Yeah, I think, I don't know who the bookies' favourites are, but I would assume Brazil would be favourites, maybe followed by Argentina, or maybe reverse of that. Yeah, that will make a lot of sense. Honestly, it will make a lot of sense. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I must say, guys, again, I talked about this last stream. There's a lot to feel a bit, well, anywhere from jaded to frustrated to angry about Qatar and the World Cup. And clearly, I think I said this on Tuesday, we shouldn't stop having the conversation about how many migrant workers died building stadiums. That is shocking, and we shouldn't ignore that. And we should, I think, again, continue to have conversations about the merits of Qatar having the World Cup. We shouldn't divorce what's happening on the pitch from that, because we can't divorce that. At the same time, I do personally, I think I will be watching the tournament. I understand some people won't be, but I am getting excited about it as we look ahead. It will be hard for different reasons, and again, I completely respect those who are either going to boycott it or just simply can't enjoy it. But I think I'm getting excited about it now, or at least as we get closer towards it. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. One thing I'm going to be doing, guys, is I'm going to be doing some watch-along streams. So we did this. I trialed this kind of idea with the Costa Rica New Zealand qualifier. So I think I'm going to be doing some streams, probably for the early games. So I think they're like 1 o'clock. And I'll probably do at least one for every group, if not a couple. But obviously focusing on the kits particularly. But yeah, I think just to have some content, but more than anything, I'm going to be watching the games anyway. I think it'd be fun just, again, to hang out, talk about the kits, and just to have that content. Yeah, so we'll almost certainly do that. And again, we'll kind of focus on the kits, talk about all the minutiae, the details we see. Or even when, you see fans in the crowd wearing a kit, and we can comment on that. So we'll be doing some content around that, as well as some ranking stuff and that sort of thing. Right, I'm going to save this. I'm going to transition us back to the main camera. Great to hang out, guys. Thank you for those who have commented. Thank you to those guys in chat, new and old faces. Yeah, don't forget my Patreon if you want to look a bit more at that. You can check out the link in the description. Thank you to my current patrons. Thank you to all you who subscribe and support the channel. This year, it's been difficult. I've not put out as many videos as I've wanted to, but getting the streams, kind of solidifying the streams, and yeah, getting that kind of really doing that regularly has been a real joy. And yeah, it would be nothing without you guys watching. So thank you for your support. There's stuff coming, guys. It might take a bit longer than I want to, but there is stuff coming. So yeah, thank you for your continued support, basically. Thank you so much. Right, that'll do it. I will see you soon. Yeah, right back at you, George. Says, have a good remainder of the day. Stay safe. Thanks for the chat. Thank you, George. Thank you for that. And Ian says, we'll be to see how full empty the stage will be. Indeed. I mean, there's a lot of stuff which is going to be fascinating to see. I think certainly when it comes to things like you see things like the fan park, the pics of the fan park, the kind of $200 a night shipping containers, well, for want of a better word, it's odd to think this kind of atmosphere that's around the tournament probably it won't be there, at least at the same level we'd typically expect. Yeah, it's going to be honestly, I think outside of everything that happens on the pitch, it is set up to be pretty disastrous. I might be wrong on that, but yeah, the visuals or the optics, shall we say, don't look great going into it for whatever way you look at it. Let's hope the football's good, but obviously, yeah, we'll wait and see on that front. Thanks again, guys. Thank you for your company. Yeah, have a good rest of your Thursday and a good rest of your week. I will, should be back on Tuesday for the eBay stream, so I hope to see you there. And again, we'll probably do another eBay stream on Thursday, or I might just not stream and do. I think I might end up doing some more filming for another video. But anyway, I'll post on Twitter and on the YouTube community page with updates for next week. But anyway, thank you very much. See you all soon. Take care.